friends, it's Gwen. If you're a picky paper crafter, you will know just how expensive some of our craft supplies can be. If you're like me, you're looking for ways to save on your everyday basics, the supplies that you use all of the time. So today I thought it would be fun to compare the big brands, the more expensive ones, to some cheaper options. Let's chat cheap versus expensive craft supplies and let's see just how well the inexpensive products can perform against the big brands. Here's a look at all the goodies I'll be testing today. On the left, you'll find the big brands such as Copic markers, Tim Holtz, Pink Fresh Studio, Prima, and more. And on the right, similar products I've found on Temu. I have 9 products to compare and I'll look at their quality, the price, and how recommendable they are. A big thank you to Temu for sending me these supplies and allowing me to do this unbiased comparison. If you haven't already, be sure to download the Temu app because when you do, you'll find links to all of the items featured today and a $100 coupon bundle. The app is super easy to use and they have free shipping and free returns up to 90 days so you can shop risk-free. If you see something you love in today's video, be sure to check the description box below for more details. It's time to get testing and the first product I'm going to look at are these alcohol markers. Here's what I ordered and here's what I got. These are labeled as Touch New brand and they came in this set of skin tones, so warm creams and browns. And on first appearance, they do look very much like the Copic markers. The outside packaging looks to be of a very similar quality. Let's take a look at the nibs. So first up, the chisel tip, and it looks exactly the same. The brush tip, however, did look a little different. The brush tip for the Touch New did look a lot more like a regular marker than the Copic. This difference is shown very clearly on the Temu website, so it was not unexpected. I mainly use my Copic markers to colour in stamped images, so for me, that was not a big deal. What is a big deal for me is the colour saturation and what the colours are actually going to look like on my express blending paper. So of course I had to get them swatched. I did place them in numerical order. The pens do have a number system similar to the Copic ones. So pop them all in numerical order and I'm just going to swatch them all out. I'm just going to add in the numbers here as well so that I can match the colour to the number and know that I have the correct pen. I also want to do a really quick blend test because that's what the Copics are really known for, and even as a pretty beginner user of the Copic markers, I do need to know whether these guys will blend together. So using my swatches, I just chose 3 that I thought would blend nicely, and you do get a 0, a blender pen in this set, and they blended together really well. Are they as good as the Copics? No, not quite, but you know what? In terms of value for money, these are great. These would be a great option if you want to build out your Copic colour range without that Copic price. Next up, I'm going to dive into some tools, starting with these blending brushes. Here's what I ordered and here's what I got. I found this set of 5 that had a very similar shape to my current version, which is from Couture Creations. I really love the pretty pastel colors that this set came in, and in fact there was also a smaller sized brush head, so you could choose between large and small. I chose this one because I felt that it was pretty close to the big brand that I had. I'll get to testing those in a moment. First up though, I want to show you these. Here's what I ordered and here's what I got. The first thing that I loved about this was that I could just get 2. I didn't need to buy a giant packet of blending foams. I was so shocked when I pulled these out of the packet. They are identical to the Tim Holtz version. So much so, I had to be careful not to mix them up. I also wanted to test these. Here's what I ordered. And here's what I got. These are mini blending brushes, and I wanted to compare them to the Pink Fresh Studio version that I have on the left. These are the Temu version on the right. I am going to test all 3 of these blending tools all in the one go. You'll see that here in a moment. On first impression, the Temu versions do look very similar to the Pink Fresh Studio ones. The handles on the Temu version are made out of plastic, whereas the Pink Fresh Studio ones are made out of wood. The Temu ones did come with these fun little tubes that you can store them in, so I do like that. Here's a side-by-side look. I think it's now time to test these out. I've pulled out a couple of simple stencils. I'm going with a geometric print and then a floral, and we'll start with the blending brushes. So first up, the Couture Creations brush, and I am going to just start at the top of the stencil here. I'll just do a small patch with the brush that I have, and then that will make it easier for me to compare the new ones. The first thing that I noticed was that the bristles themselves were a fair bit softer. There is a lot more give in the bristles themselves, so it actually doesn't require as much force to push down to get the ink through the stencil. The amount of ink that is being picked up by the brush does seem to be very similar as well. All in all, not a lot of difference there. Next up, the mini ink blending tools, and this is the Temu version right here. The bristles on this brush also feel considerably softer than the big brands. So I'm not entirely sure if it's the bristles themselves that are not as stiff, or if it's a density thing, if the bigger brands just have more bristles in each brush. I hope that makes sense. When I switch to the Pink Fresh Studio version, I feel like the brush on this tool holds more ink. So I'm able to get more ink through the stencil in less time. I am able to replicate that by going back in with the Temu version and reapplying more ink. So the end result does end up the same. I just felt like I had to work that little bit harder using the Temu version. Onto the round dauber tools, and the results for these were interesting because they looked so similar. This tool actually ended up having the biggest difference in performance. The dauber on the cheaper version was a lot firmer, but that meant that it didn't hold as much ink. You can see there, it's that bottom circle, and you can even see as I hold them up there that the coverage on the dauber that's firmer has less ink on it. And you know what? I feel like it didn't get into the flower part of the stencil as well either. So that's really interesting to me because that was the one that I really didn't think I would find a difference in performance. I thought that they were identical, but they are actually not. Whilst there were differences in the brushes on the other 2 tools, I don't feel like that difference was enough to even notice. I feel like I'm only noticing it because I'm comparing them so directly. On to the next test, and it's watercolors. Here's what I ordered and here's what I got. I was super keen to compare these two because the Prima watercolors are considerably more expensive. On first impressions, I'm super impressed. The packaging is almost identical. Everything looks like it's great quality. So far, so good, but we do need to get a look at the watercolors themselves. I am going to unpackage them. They all come with a little sticker on top, and I am going to place that sticker in the tray just for reference for me later. There are a bunch of watercolor options on the site. I chose these because they were the best match to the tropical set that I have by Prima. A reminder too that if you love any of the products I've shared today, there is a link in the description box below. You'll also find deals on hand-picked supplies that I know you will love. As I'm unboxing these, I'm noticing that the quality is exceptional. These so far look exactly like the Prima set. I'm super impressed. I am wishing I got the larger set now because this one goes up to 48 colors. Of course, I'm going to swatch these out in a moment, but first I want to show you these. Here's what I ordered and here's what I got. Yes to pink paintbrushes. I desperately needed these. You will see the state of my current paintbrushes in a moment here. These are super pretty, and I love that the handles are plastic because this won't happen. It's time to get swatching. I have taken my round paper punch and punched out a bunch of watercolor papers. I'm now just going to spray down the colors and let them sit for just 1 minute or so. I've lined the circles up so I know which color is which, and I'm just going to go ahead and swatch them out. I'm going to fill the front of each circle with the corresponding color. I did find that the color was easier to spread if I had laid down some water on my card first. The first one I did, I went directly from the paint onto the paper and it worked fine, but yeah, I just liked the look of the wet watercolor paint onto a pre-wet paper. I was really surprised by just how far the watercolor went. The colors are really rich and vibrant, and they're lovely to work with. I cannot wait to create more with these, and like I said earlier, I actually wish I'd got the bigger set. On to the side-by-side comparison, and you'll see here in a moment that many of the colors were an exact match. Not all of them, but many of them were, and I feel like this is a great set that I'll be able to use in conjunction with the Primacolors. I feel like on a finished piece, you're not going to be able to tell the difference. So all I've really done is extended the color range in that set that I already have. The paint brushes performed beautifully. I actually preferred to use these over my current old ones that I have. So these were money well spent, and I no longer have to deal with this. My swatches are dry, so I am going to hand write the name of the colors on the back of each of them. I am then going to grab my crocodile and punch a hole and then pop them all onto a jump ring like so. Swatching is one thing, but I did want to test out the blend, and look at this. Isn't that beautiful? I am so happy with these watercolors. Okay, so next up, I was itching to test out some stamp and die combos. The selection on Temu is huge, so it was very hard to narrow it down to just 3 sets. The first set I've gone with is a title set. I wanted like a large alphabet. Here's what I ordered, and here's what I got. These are available for purchase separately, so you buy the stamp and die as separate purchases, and I'm just comparing it to a set that I have from Temu. I also ordered this floral set here. I was particularly interested in it because it had these large areas of block color. These sets are super inexpensive, so I am keen to see just how they perform. I ordered one last set, and that is this heart set. First impressions is that these all look really good. I won't know for sure until we test them out, so it's time to pull out my Misty. I'm going to choose a couple of icons from each of the sets, and then I'll run them through my Sizzix machine and cut them out. I have noticed that the dies themselves don't look quite as thick and quite as sturdy as the ones from Temu. I don't use my dies a crazy amount, so for me that's not really a factor that I'm worried about. It could be something for you to think about though if you're making lots and lots of cards. So I'm just using some Memento ink from my stash, and as you can see here, I did choose on purpose a selection of prints. So some that were more solid and some that were more detailed. I am going to double ink them, and I double ink every single thing that I stamp. I really like that extra dark impression, and that's why I have a Misty tool. And as you can see, they have stamped up beautifully. I really love the finished product there. I had no problems at all running these through my Sizzix machine, and I want to show you a finished product. I did go ahead and create a card using these supplies. This is actually a die also from Temu that I got on a previous order, so I am going to use that. And I'm going to restamp this entire peony flower. I'm also going to use my new blending brush to add some ink to this frame. I didn't feel that my review would be complete until I had actually created something with these supplies. I have gone with a very soft and light distressed ink, and I'm going to contrast that with the black in the ink from my flower. Next up, my card needs a sentiment, and I'm going to go with the word love. I'll stamp that up with some more Memento ink and then run it through my die cutting machine. I was a little worried that the alignment might not be great for the stamp and die sets, but everything that I've tested is perfect. I'll just add in some foam tape for dimension, and I'm going to run the sentiment down the bottom edge of the card. I'll add this front piece onto a pink card base, and that will call the card done. You can see here that I've added an extra layer to the flower for dimension, and I feel like I've really tested out the products now. So my final thoughts? All of the products featured today were very comparable. Yes, there were some differences in performance, but overall, I feel like those differences are well worth it for the savings. You can see here there are some amazing savings to be had. Whilst these supplies will never completely replace products from the big brands, they could be a great way for you to save on basics, build out your stash, and give you the opportunity to trial some new products and techniques. If you need even more ways to save, try the 11 tips I share in this video right here. They are sure to extend your budget even further. Thanks for being here, my creative friends, and I'll see you all in the next video. Until then, bye!